Hey everyone, this is Cindy from Jewelry Effects. I am back with a part 2 of promoted listings. A couple of days after I did the last video, Etsy added this revenue column. And I felt like it was worth going over in addition to some other information that I didn't get to the last time. So the first thing I actually want to start with is the difference in my stats from last month to this month with the changes that I made on promoted listings. And I just want to show you the breakdown between the two. So last month I had 19,000 impressions. I had 190 clicks. I spent $26.86 on the listings, and I had made $41.25 in revenue. And you can clearly see how low my numbers were, fairly consistently low numbers, up until October 28th when I changed my promoted listings to the maximum bid being 2 cents. And I had 2,500 impressions the one day, which is almost more than double what I had for any single one day here for the entire month. And looking at this month's stats, just so far for November, I'm looking at 23,000 impressions just for this month. I've already surpassed every single one of these numbers for the month of November, and today's Sunday, November 9th, versus last month completely. And I've only spent a fraction of the cost. And I have 20 more clicks this month than I did last month, and I'm at $75 worth of revenue. One of the things I also want to talk about is each of these different columns and what they mean. Looking at my total amount of 23,000 impressions, this will actually give you the breakdown of how many of those impressions each of these have in that total, that make up that total number. So 529 impressions make up that 23,000 number. I had 9 clicks on this listing. The average cost per click was 1 cent. Now, I have 9 clicks. The average cost per click is 1 cent, but I spent 11 cents. So at some point, I had a couple of these listings that were bid up to the 2 cent mark. And I didn't make any revenue from this. One of the things I wanted to go over very specifically was how the monthly revenue number is calculated from promoted listings, because it's kind of strange. And it may not always be accurate because of how Etsy does the stats on this. So if I scroll down a little bit here, you can see that on this specific listing, I had 634 impressions. I had 17 clicks. The average cost per click was 1 cent. I spent 31 cents total, so I had some 2 cent bids in there somewhere. And I had $25 worth of revenue. Now, the revenue may not necessarily be the same item that they clicked on to get into your store. The promoted listing they clicked on may not be the one that's sold that's being counted as revenue. In this specific instance, they did buy what they clicked on. I know that I have an open order for this item right now. But this number may not always be what they purchased. If I go to page 2, I can show you that right here. So I actually ended up going into the forums to talk to some people about this because I could not figure out what happened here. The item in question is $54, and I had $38 worth of revenue on this. I had 186 impressions. I had 5 clicks. I spent an average of 2 cents on this specific listing for a total of 10 cents. So I went all the way up to the 2 cent bid every single time. And what I discovered is that even if they click on this item as the promoted listing, which I know this is the one that made me the revenue, they clicked on this 5/8 listing and they bought something that was actually in their size, and I know which item was sold. So how does Etsy get this magical revenue number? And how is it that it's not that it may not be accurate all the time? Well, on the promoted listings, if a user clicks on an item and says, hey, this is a great item, I want to buy this in 2 weeks when I get paid. They add it to their cart, they favorite it, whatever it is that they do. They have 30 days to buy this specific item for it to be counted as revenue towards your promoted listings. Say I favorited this and when I get paid 2 weeks from now, I decide, actually, you know what? I want this listing instead. Etsy's not going to count that as revenue towards your promoted listings. Etsy counts the promoted listing revenue 2 ways. They have 30 days to purchase the item that they specifically clicked on in the ad, or they have 24 hours to purchase anything in your store, but it's only 24 hours. So if they favorited this, 2 weeks they come back, like I said, decide they want something else. The something else is not counted as revenue towards the promoted listings. A stat I wish Etsy would incorporate and hope that they do is how many favorites you're gaining from promoted listings specifically. So if they'd add a column over here for how many times it was favorited, that would be kind of cool. Just my little wish list item here. But the revenue number can be a little weird. So I don't know how many, how much of the $75 revenue is actually from promoted listings from the last 30 days, or if it is specifically this month. It's kind of hard to tell. It makes it a little bit easier now that they've got the revenue column in here, but there's going to be a lot of, you know, trying to figure out which ones came from where and what was clicked on, etc. So another thing I wanted to go over real quick is how you can deactivate or suspend a promoted listing or a listing from being promoted. You would select the item here, hit pause, and you can pick and choose what you're going to promote. Now, you can uncheck, you can come back over here, leave it check marked, go to resume, and hit continue, and it'll put it back on whatever you had it set to before it was paused. So you can pause, you know, a great number of things. You can pause an entire page, you can resume an entire page, etc. One of the things I did change is I went into my advanced settings and I set my cost per click to actually be 3 cents. And I just wanted to kind of feel it out, see how it worked. And on some of my listings, I am bidding up to the 3 cents. It thinks that the 3 cent auto bid is going to be good for it. But for the most part, the vast majority of it, I'm still sitting at the 2 cent auto bid. It can go up to 3 cents if it wanted to go that far, it can. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to spend all the way up to that 3 cents every single time. So I just wanted to kind of go over this a little bit, and I hope that, you know, these videos are helping you. I may do a third one in the series, but I wanted to show the breakdowns and the success story really from last month to this month, because I'm not maxing out my daily budget so early in the day that by the time all the shoppers, the majority of the shoppers are in the afternoon, evening hours, I'm actually getting a lot more sales out of this. So these promoted listings are working very, very well for me now. Again, if you have any questions or you have any comments or you have feedback for me on these videos, I would really appreciate it if you'd reach out to me. You can either email me at jewelryeffects@icloud.com, or you can shoot me a message on Etsy. That's totally fine. Again, I'm here to help.